Hello, everybody. Welcome to Agoric's October community call. This is community call number 13, which never ceases to amaze me every time the number goes up. I'm Roland Grouse. I'm product manager at Agoric, for those that don't know me, and really appreciate all of you tuning in, either live or, as I know a number of you do, watching later on. So with that, we got some great stuff today for the community call. So Dan Finlay of MetaMask is here to talk about Hardened.js and some of the work that Agoric and MetaMask have collaborated on, and then also have a number of updates for you on what Agoric's been up to over the last month and what you guys have to look forward to coming up. So let's just dive into it right here. So agenda here, I sort of just gave an overview of it, but here are the topics, and I'm just going to dive into Mainnet Phase 0. So we've been talking about this for a little while now. The Phase 0 of Agoric's Mainnet is really the Cosmos chain, and we are now targeting the date of October 25th. We're working through distributing addresses and tokens to the incentivized testnet and other backers. So appreciate everybody's patience there. Really, from Agoric's standpoint, it's not blocking any development and it's not blocked on any real technical issues. It's really just operations and logistics. So we are pushing hard on our end towards Mainnet Phase 1, which is the launch of the VM and the Treasury and the AMM. And none of that ends up being blocked here, but we know that a number of you are eager for token distributions, and that is coming. We are targeting October 25th for that. So appreciate it. Obviously, as always, ask questions in Discord if you need, and those of you that we need to be in touch with, we are. So hopefully all of that is good. But as always, please ask questions if you need to. All right. So one of the big updates that we had over the past month is Messari Mainnet happened. So that was a big thing for the general crypto world. Dean went and presented there, and we actually had a demo that we put together specifically for Messari Mainnet, which displayed a bunch of interesting things from our end. So the demo was a demonstration of moving atoms from a Cosmos testnet chain to Agoric over IBC using Kepler wallet, and then using those atoms in our treasury to collateralize a loan and mint run, and then using that run to make a trade in the AMM, and then also buy some NFTs from a third party or possibly third-party card store to show those NFTs in the wallet as well, and show how the Agoric wallet demonstrates all of those things. So it was a really great demonstration of pulling together a lot of pieces that we've been working on, and showing people, a group that may be less familiar with Agoric, that we've got a live VM that in JavaScript can do DeFi stuff that they are familiar with. So that was really excellent. That YouTube video is live, so you can see I've got a screenshot here on the slide. So if we can drop the link in chat here, and anyone that wants to watch the YouTube video can see Dean's demo. So that was sort of an excellent thing that sort of pulled together a bunch of stuff from us over the past month. All right. So without any further ado, let's bring on Dan Finlay here. So just to intro Dan for those that don't know him. He's the co-founder and lead of MetaMask, and MetaMask is the leading digital asset wallet. So in August, they surpassed 10 million monthly active users, and at least from my perspective, they're sort of the default self-custody onboarding point for the vast majority of people that are new in the Web3 ecosystem. So really excited to have Dan join us today, and I'm going to bring him on now. Hey, Dan, how are you doing?
Hey, Roland. Good to see you. Thanks for having me here. Let me take off my mask real quick.
Yeah, you look a little different than the last time I saw you. That's
yeah, we have to keep ourselves safe online, and so I like to wear my Meta mask.
Well, I might hit you up for one of those later on, actually. So I guess I've got a few questions for you here, and I guess just to start out with, as I was prepping for this, I noticed in your Twitter bio that you call yourself a purposeful trust maximalist, and I like that a lot, and it seemed relevant to the conversation. So I was wondering if you could talk to our audience a little bit about what you mean by it.
Yeah, I think it is kind of relevant to what we're going to be talking about today. Obviously it refers to maximalism, which in crypto, we build a crypto wallet, and in crypto there's a trend towards maximalism, oftentimes justified by the need for security of a protocol, right? When you've got a proof of stake blockchain, its security is as strong as the value of its tokens staked, in some regard, or the distribution of those tokens at least. And so there's a trend towards building communities that are, a little bit aggressive towards each other or hostile. And I am really more in it for what we enable society to do personally. And for me, that's all about building tools that allow people to take the kinds of risks on each other that they'd like to, because I think that basically social coordination never comes without risk. And you have to take that risk. And when you take that, it's trust. And so what I'm trying to build with MetaMask is a tool for people to take very deliberate acts of trust or risk, and ideally minimizing it. Ideally you've got really secure smart contracts, and you've got, it's well audited and vetted, and, verified by your social network and third party auditors and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you still have to take a leap of faith. And so when you get put in that kind of position, you want to be able to take it back if it ends up being dangerous, or you want to be able to just dabble a little bit. And I think that is related to the kinds of security goals that Agoric's kind of been pursuing in Hardened.js. And I think it's part of what drew the MetaMask team towards Agoric and the tools that y'all are producing.
Yeah, it resonates with me in particular. I feel like we come from a world in Web 2 where you're often trusting parties that you didn't necessarily purposefully trust. And I think that that's a lot of what we're trying to avoid in this new world that we're building. So just wanted to get that to a wider audience. Okay, all right. So I guess maybe to dive in a little bit, I think security often can be a vague thing for people, especially outside of the actual development world, to understand. So I'd love if you could talk a little bit about the goals you're trying to accomplish at MetaMask and how your security model fits into what you need to do to accomplish those goals.
Yeah, well, I think it should come as no surprise to someone that a wallet wants to be safe. But MetaMask didn't just want to be safe. We were kind of one of the very first crypto wallets that was not just trying to help you hold and maybe send assets, but was also trying to let you interact with applications. And that's this whole extra degree of complexity. What does it mean to hold, moolah tokens and then vote on a proposal in, FUDAO? Like, is that going to affect my tokens? Like, is it so there's this whole comprehensibility problem that comes along with running applications on a blockchain. And so MetaMask found ourselves, tightly squeezed between the needs of security and this kind of dynamic nature. And what I'd like to stress is that these were extreme forces, but I don't think they're different forces than what act on any application developer. I think pretty much every application should want to be safe. That's, to me, safety is the application behaving the way you would expect it to behave. I'm kind of borrowing that from a couple different people. I got it from Copying Yi, who got it from some people publishing in O'Reilly. I forget what that book was, but the application should operate the way you expect. So there's actually kind of a user-facing component to it. So safety it's not just some mathematical ideal. It's about being able to represent to the user what they want, and then behave faithfully on their behalf. So yeah, I think those are kind of the basic goals of software, though, right? Like we have computers and we want to program them to do what we want, and it's really, I think, a really low bar, you should think, in terms of like our relationship to computers. Computers are machines that are thinking machines. Can we just get them to do what we want? And maybe at a low level we can. Oh, I can make it spit out "Hello World" if I wanted to say that. But can I build a social network without creating mass chaos, confusion, and suspicion of every single news source? I don't know. Maybe we haven't learned how to get computers to do that. And so to me, security is all about, just like we were saying before, it's about making kind of purposeful, deliberate connections between software. And we kind of do that today with, you might have a web token for connecting to a web service, but that web token may not expose the whole API you want, or you may not be able to delegate some of the powers. And then maybe more to the topic at hand today, your own software may be importing dependencies and libraries that you depend on, which are basically, you're kind of letting them into your house. And the norm in pretty much every programming language today is those kind of get to do whatever they want. Like, sure, there are some like functional languages where maybe the side effects completely, but for most languages, there are all these kinds of side effects. And you bring in a library, and you may just want it to color an image, or do a little math, or connect to a web service. But along the meantime, it could be doing all sorts of other things that you didn't want it to do. And that's a real shame. Like you said, import multiplication library, and then you got all of your security compromised. Like, there's a real mismatch at the language level between the user's expectations and the behavior of the software. So anyways, not to get ahead of ourselves too much, but just, in answer to your question, what are our interests in security at MetaMask? We just want to make a dang wallet that lets people hold assets and then interact with applications. Seems like a simple goal, but taking it on kind of requires digging down to the depths of the horrible demons that are normalized in modern computing.
Yep. And so I think it's a good segue into trying to explain for the audience, what is Agoric's technology that we're calling Hardened.js? What is it from your perspective, and how does it fit into this picture?
Yeah, so Hardened.js is a proposal for improving the JavaScript language, and it's a shim that lets you basically use that proposal today with slightly different security guarantees. Now, if this proposal is either implemented correctly, or if the shim is implemented correctly, then what you get is a version of JavaScript where you can be much more clear about what you're saying and how it'll be interpreted. And specifically, it gives you a framework for saying, okay, here's some code that I don't completely trust, and so I'm going to just give it the authority that it needs. Obviously, you have to give it some things. If it's a square root finder, you have to give it the number that you want to get a square root of. I mean, maybe we'll get ZK Snarks some day to do that for us, but for now, you got to give it at least the input that it needs. I know Dean likes using the example of a mail person has to get the package. You can't get a mail person to do their job without handing them the package at the end of the day. And there's lots of examples like that. But what it lets you do is it lets you say, but that's all you get. And that is kind of surprisingly a new thing for computer languages. Yeah. There's just not other languages that do that. So pretty much every other way that we could approach building our wallet involves some kind of ambient authority, some kind of insinuated, side effects that we're prone to with every single new dependency we bring in. And this is scary for us because we have dependencies. This is scary for us because we have a growing team. And this is scary for us because, we'd like to invite more community participation. We'd like to bring in pull requests. And ideally, we'd even have some degree of extensibility. And we'd invite that community to even dynamically shape the wallet at runtime. And the Hardened.js gives us a tool for doing all of those things. It gives us a tool for, we've got our Lava Moat project, which gives us a tool for automatically at build time, kind of wrapping all of our dependencies. And now we have a declarative file where we can kind of review what authority is each dependency using, and does that make sense? So we've got a build time, and it works with, modern, it doesn't work with Webpack, but it works with Browserify and, I'm sorry. Sorry, Aaron, I forget the second build system we have it working with, but it's, theoretically can be ported to any build system. And so that's super cool because it means modern JavaScript, we're able to reclaim some amount of sanity. But, that still means we're managing this config file. That's maybe not everybody's favorite way. At least we get a diff when a dependency suddenly wants network access. You could say, wait, why do you suddenly want network access and access to my private keys that control my wallet? That's suspicious. should, so that file would be a very high security thing. It'd be the kind of thing that in GitHub you add a special code owners policy to. And so we can really raise the bar for our base security. And we've been working on it for a long time, but we have it working on in our build system for our entire background process of our wallet now. So, and this is not just a theoretical thing. There was a Bitcoin wallet called Copay that got hacked in exactly this way. It imported one JavaScript dependency, and it was just sending home user funds for 3 whole versions. They just didn't notice. It's hard to notice. It's somewhere deep in your code. So that's one of the things. So yeah, if the interface works, we get a way to sandbox JavaScript code. And actually, I think sandbox is almost a misnomer because sandboxes tend to be so heavyweight. People think of spinning up a whole VM, but this is right there within the same JavaScript kind of synchronous context. So it's really lightweight. We're finding it very performant. Like at worst, it's maybe like doubling the performance time of that code. But for the kind of security it potentially offers, it's enormous.
And so I know you guys, I think a bunch of the team came out to the Palm House and hung out with Dean and folks. So I think we talked about this briefly in a previous community call, but haven't really talked about it a lot. I'd love to know from your perspective, what were some of the actual operations of that security review? What were you guys working on, and what did you guys get out of it?
Yeah, so that was a really great event, and we had a great time. So we brought, I think, a total of 6 MetaMask representatives. We had a core team of 3 that was there the whole week, and then 3 more that kind of arrived for limited periods. But we did a deep dive of the shim that allows Hardened.js to work in modern JavaScript on engines that haven't integrated it natively. And so that deep dive was it was really intense. It was really educational. I mean, because what we're trying to do here is we're trying to create a simple, easy to reason about safe language from one that does not have those properties currently. So to get to that end state, you have to really kind of reason about all the possible implications at the lower state. And fortunately, though, we got to explore all these JavaScript features that have been promoted by team members of Agoric over the last decade, like Mark Miller at TC39. So things like the proxy and strict mode are kind of combined with other language features that are sometimes lesser known, like the with block, to come together to create an environment where you actually have really well lexically confined code, which is to say some code where its variables are really just the ones that are right there on the page. It doesn't have like magic variables that are available from elsewhere. And I think to perfectly, fully, and masterfully understand this, you'd have to completely master the JavaScript spec and the implementations. But that's part of why it's really valuable to promote this at a language level, at an engine level. And so, we're there at TC39 promoting this at an engine level. But, the way that it's built is I really has a safety first approach. Like, for example, special keywords. If they're not accounted for, they're excluded. So and there's some cases where some types of comments we're not sure we can perfectly protect against them, and so they're banned. So there's a tendency to fail to safety, not to vulnerability. And yeah, so it was just an amazing week for us. I find that Agoric's got some of the very best JavaScript engineers in the world, if not the best. And so I think it was a real treat for us to get to spend time with the team and, by day, just audit the heck out of some of the most security sensitive code we could ever look at. And then by night, just, pontificate on, where we're going with all this stuff and debate around the merits of different blockchain architectures and things. And it was a really great time. I think we got a lot out of it, and it was great to spend some human time together. We took all sorts of precautions. This was during the pandemic, and but it was great to spend some time together. Yeah,
I was jealous and upset about being on the East Coast for that. And so I guess maybe to pop up a level for some of the listeners that are less sort of developer focused, as a user of MetaMask, how might these kinds of things affect me in the near or medium term?
So in the near or medium term, we're shipping this in lava mode, where the impact is kind of invisible, but it should mean that you're safer. So the near medium term, sorry, MetaMask users, it's an invisible thing. We actually work really hard just to keep you safe, and you'll never feel grateful for it because you don't know what you have until you lose it.
Right.
But a little that's near term. A little more medium term, we are still pursuing a project that we call Snaps, which is our wallet extensibility system, and that is also built on Hardened.js. And what you can hope for from that would be MetaMask supporting new blockchains and new account types like contract accounts and other hardware wallets that we haven't had the time to support on our own. And eventually, but hopefully all sorts of other really interesting use cases. I'm looking forward to new creative, file sharing protocols or, asset standards. People are in Ethereum. It was the first Turing complete blockchain. I know you guys are making one too. You may have heard of it, but it's amazing how everything just builds on each other so fast. Like you can't keep up with standards because as soon as somebody's made a token standard, well, somebody's now made a streaming token standard, and then somebody made revocable streaming token standard, and so it's so hard to keep up with. And this is not in one direction. This is in every direction. Is this kind of Cambrian explosion of technology. And so we really see eventually using user space extensibility as a way to invite the community to kind of share, either propose changes to us, but also ideally share them in a way where we don't have to be involved in the process. If we do it right, the wallet kernel can be a very small thing and everything else can kind of live in user space.
Right. So by improving security and the way you deal with permissions, you become more open to external developers contributing. Is that sort of a reasonable summary?
Yeah. And it's both for our internal safety and for external safety. So when we're scaling up a new team, the first thing we do when having a new developer on the team, right, is review all their code very, very closely all the time. And at a certain point, you might have a whole team that you're kind of ready to split one team into two teams, and you're like, okay, but are we still going to vet every single pull request with the full? Are we going to be linting their code and enforcing code styles and stuff? I really think that Hardened.js, as a way of establishing boundaries between organizational or kind of trust units, gives you a level of abstraction where you can maybe care less about the semicolons, care a little bit more about like what is actually exposed at risk from this change. And that's, I think, a much more actually important and significant, substantial level to be concerned with. And so, in the long term, I think that this is going to be the kind of tool that helps teams collaborate better and faster and safer. And you may think you don't care about safety. You may just be making, you may think your app is totally trivial, like it's just my blog or something. But until somebody rips it off or starts posting stuff you don't like or whatever. So I really think that this stuff, it's all about just easy safety, and I think that's going to be good for everybody. And so I think in the even longer term, it's not just going to be early adopters like MetaMask. It's going to be kind of anybody that realized that this is kind of a fundamental shift in how you can compose software. And I think it's a really exciting change. Yeah,
I would say, needless to say, we agree. And so this has been great. I think maybe as a last question here, you talked a little bit about snaps, and snaps can be the answer here if you want. But I know that you've had a lot of success with some recent launches. Your swaps feature, which came out, I'm forgetting, I think in the spring. It's been up.
It was actually autumn last year, about a year ago.
Wow. Time in this world is crazy. And also your institutional product. But I'm curious, sort of, for more generally for MetaMask users, what should they be excited about coming up? What are you excited about that you're building?
Obviously, I already hit the big stuff. Like Snaps is like galaxy brain way out there kind of stuff. But in the near term, we've been, I think our users will be plenty happy just to learn that we've really been hearing them and scaling up the team, and we've really grown our design team and grown our engineering team, and so we're on track to make some big, just fundamental improvements to usability and a lot of features that have been a little janky and under supported. There's been a lot of pain around hardware wallet support, and we're finally getting the pieces in place to sustain that long term. And I think that we've also got some cool moves in place for making transactions just more readable, because really that's kind of our core service, is helping people understand what they're doing with their cryptographic keys. And so that's that, and keeping transaction costs low and performant and reliable. Those are kind of it. So helping you keep your costs down while knowing what you're doing and having it work. That's just kind of the basic stuff. But I think that all of those basics are really going to be improving this next quarter and year.
That's great. All right. Well, Dan, I really appreciate you coming on here and spending the time. And I think Agoric in general, we've been really excited about and have really enjoyed the collaboration so far, and looking forward to more work on Hardened.js as things move forward.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me, Roland.
All right, thanks so much. All right, so quick talk with Dan. Maybe we'll have him back on at some future date, but really appreciate his insight as always. And so with that, I'll move on to some of the future stuff that's coming up here at Agoric. Hack This Fall is an event that we have coming in late October, and actually we already recorded and they're live on YouTube already 3 separate talks. So I had a talk, Dean had a talk, and Kate had a talk, all sort of about different aspects of what we are looking to have the participants in Hack This Fall do. So our challenges, which have yet to be officially announced, but our challenges are going to be primarily around NFTs. So either launching NFTs in Agoric, or building out the actual NFT component ecosystem in Agoric. So we've got a few specific things that we're going to be having people work on, and we're really excited about those. That also aligns with some of the bounties that we have coming up. So let me talk about that as well. So there's two bounties open right now, the Smart Liquidation bounty for the Treasury, and one NFT bounty, which is to take our dApp card store and extend it for auction sales. So right now, dApp card store is an example NFT marketplace that our engineer Kate built in, I think, about a day, a while back for a demo. And we'd like to extend that so that it's no longer just selling NFTs for a fixed price, but is putting them on auction. So if that's something you're interested in, please do apply to that bounty. The liquidation bounty is another important one. Right now, our treasury liquidates vaults directly on our AMM. It does it in a very naive way, where it just dumps the vault on the AMM, regardless of what the impact to price would be, or anything else of that nature. This liquidation bounty would be to consider additional market factors in that process. So if either of those are interesting to you, please do apply, or ping me on Discord and ask questions if you need. We've got 3 bounties in active development, which all of which we're excited about, especially the NFT one, which is to extend that card store in a different direction, which is to allow secondary sales. So if you have baseball cards, in your wallet, then this would allow you to sell it on dApp card store. So you can sort of see we're building up little components to get to OpenSea-like functionality on Agoric, and we're doing it through bounties. So again, if you're watching NFTs get built out and you're interested in that market, which regardless of individual NFTs is just not going to go away, please come to us, and we've got tons of ideas of things you can build here if you want to get involved. We also have 2 bounties that ended. One is the Chainlink aggregation contract and the pool-based loan protocol, and a lot of bounties coming up. So in particular, we're looking at IBC connected zone bounties. So for example, spinning up an instance on Akash and managing your Akash deployment with a smart contract. And we have a few specific use cases around that. And then we're also looking at connections to Osmosis as potential bounties too. So again, if you're a developer and interested in Cosmos ecosystem related stuff, or even if you're a trader on Osmosis and you're interested, please come to us, and we've got some bounties in the works there. Okay, and as always, if you have ideas for specific bounties, in particular connections to other Cosmos zones, DeFi components that you think are interesting or important, or NFT related things that you're excited about building, make suggestions in the builders channel, and we can always figure out whether that works into our bounty schedule and likely make it so. Right. All right, and so some community stuff over the last month. So we've had a bunch of AMAs. These have sort of been ramping up as obviously as Mainnet 0 gets closer. We've started having, in particular, Dean. Thank you, Dean. Go out for a bunch of these AMAs that are largely on Telegram and very well attended. We've got some upcoming AMAs this month, and that schedule will likely fill out as we confirm additional events and things like that. But if you want to come and support Agoric, it's always nice to have people in the AMAs, that are familiar with the community already and can ask targeted questions. So, please feel free and follow those announcements on Discord and come show your support. And then some additional events coming up. So October 28th is Conf42. We've got Web Directions Safe in December, and then I already mentioned Hack this fall. And we have our merch store live. So this is new Agoric merchandise. So I'm wearing, I think, iteration 2 of the Agoric merch right now. Sometimes you'll see me in the red, the old one, but we've got new ones featuring our nice logos and cool city-esque art. So shirts, hats, socks, and cups, and mugs. There's likely some additional stuff that Santi would know more about, but please come to the merch store and show off your swag. We've had a couple people actually get recognized in different places with Agoric stuff on, which is starting. We'll ramp up more as we go towards mainnet, and that's exciting to see. All right, and I think last but not least, a few roles still open. So we've filled a bunch of the roles for important people coming into the Agoric sphere here, but we've got a few engineering roles still open: Director of Engineering, the front-end dApp developer, and then Information Architect. So again, if this sounds like you, please apply, and we're excited to continue to grow the team. All right, thank you so much. So I'll sit here in case anybody's got questions. And as always, I know a lot of the views for these tend to come after the fact. So if you do have questions that you weren't here to ask live, feel free to ask in Discord. I'll just scroll through the chat here. All right. So no questions. I appreciate everybody coming out for the community call, and thank you to Dan Finlay again. And we will talk to you soon.